They said it was impossible, that nothing like this could ever rise from this soil, that the land was too wild, the people too simple, the dream too large, and so they dismissed it before they ever tried to understand it. They said Africans could not build in stone. They claimed these hands shaped by sun and earth, could never carve permanence from granite. They looked at the walls, and instead of seeing brilliance, they saw a contradiction to their own beliefs. So they chose denial. They said the walls were the work of strangers, of lost tribes, of ghosts. They invented strangers. They summoned myths. They whispered of lost tribes and wandering foreigners. Anyone but the people who stood right there, guardians of the land, children of the stone, because truth was more terrifying than fiction. But what if the greatest lie ever told about Southern Africa was the deliberate erasure of a kingdom? But what if the greatest lie ever told was not about who built it, but about why they needed to erase it? What if this was not ignorance, but intention? A kingdom so magnificent that its existence alone threatened an empire of lies. So powerful, so wealthy, so advanced. A kingdom of gold, of order, of vision. A civilization rising from the earth with confidence. Walls curved like the horizon. Stones placed with mathematical precision. Power was not declared here. It was built. That the world had to pretend it never existed. And so the world looked at it and blinked. History books grew silent. Maps shifted. Stories were rewritten. Because acknowledging it would mean rewriting everything. Tonight, we uncover the truth behind Great Zimbabwe, the city they tried to erase. Tonight, we walk through the gates they tried to seal. We brush dust from stones that remember more than any archive. We listen to walls that have waited centuries to speak. This is Great Zimbabwe, and this is its truth. This is the story they never wanted you to hear. Lean closer, because this story was buried on purpose, hidden beneath conquest, distorted by arrogance, silenced by design. But stone does not forget, and neither should we. Long before European ships cut through the waters of the Indian Ocean, long before foreign sails scarred the horizon, before cannon fire echoed across distant shores, the winds over this land carried a different sound. The sound of cattle bells, of hammer against stone, of a civilization rising quietly, unwatched, before colonial flags pierced African soil, before flags claimed what they did not plant, before borders sliced through ancestral earth. This land belonged to its people, to their ancestors, to their vision, and from that vision, a city emerged. There stood, in the heart of Southern Africa, a city of stone. In the heart of Southern Africa, a city stood, not fragile, not temporary, but eternal. Stone rising against the sky, defying time, defying doubt. A declaration carved into the earth itself. Not mud, not wood, stone. Not mud that washes away in rain. Not wood that surrenders to flame. Stone, heavy, intentional, permanent. Each block a decision, each curve a statement. We are here, and we endure. Massive granite blocks stacked without mortar. No mortar binds these stones. Only balance, only precision, only knowledge passed from hand to hand. They understood weight. They understood gravity. They understood time. And so the walls hold, even now, rising into walls over 30 feet high. 30 feet into the sky. Walls that tower not just in height, but in meaning. Imagine standing beneath them centuries ago, feeling their shadow fall across you. That shadow was power and protection. Walls so precise that even today, modern engineers study them in awe. Even today, engineers trace the lines of these stones with disbelief. No cement, no modern tools, no foreign blueprint, just African ingenuity, locked into granite. The stones fit as though they breathe together, as though they remember their place. This was Great Zimbabwe, capital of a vast and sophisticated civilization. This was no village. This was a capital. Markets alive with voices. Cattle numbering in the thousands. Gold measured in weight and influence. Messengers crossing valleys. Leaders ruling from hilltop thrones. This was civilization. Organized. Structured. Unapologetic. But it didn't begin as a city. But even giants begin as whispers. Before the walls. Before the towers. Before the name. There was only a hill. And a dream. It began as a whisper in the hills. A family looking out over fertile land. A leader imagining something greater. A people deciding that they would not merely survive. They would build. And in that quiet decision, in that whisper carried by the wind, an empire was born. In the 9th century, before empires cast long shadows across this land, small Shona-speaking communities moved quietly across the plateau. Between the great rivers, the Zambezi in the north and Limpopo in the south, they found a fertile earth, open sky, possibility, and they chose to stay. They were farmers. They pressed seeds into red soil, trusting the rhythm of rain. Hands hardened by labor, hearts softened by hope. Every harvest was a covenant. Between earth and effort, they walked beside their cattle at sunrise, dust rising gently around hooves. Cattle were more than wealth. They were status, security, survival. The sound of bells across the savannah was the sound of prosperity, and beneath their feet, the earth whispered secrets. They dug carefully into shallow shafts, torchlight flickering against stone, and when gold caught the flame, it was as if the land itself was revealing destiny. But they were also visionaries. Yet they were more than farmers, more than herders, more than miners. They were visionaries. They saw beyond the horizon, beyond the season, beyond their own lifetime. They imagined permanence. Gold lay beneath their soil, and that gold would change everything. Gold slept beneath their soil, silent, patient, powerful, and when they began to gather it, the world began to notice. What had once been a quiet plateau was becoming the heartbeat of something greater. Through trade networks stretching to the East African coast, goods flowed between inland Africa and the wider world. Caravans stretched across the savannah, footsteps carving invisible highways through grasslands. From the interior to the eastern coast, goods moved, stories traveled, influence expanded. They were not isolated, they were connected. Ivory gleamed in the sun. Gold weighed heavy in leather pouches. Animal skins, cured and prepared, told of skilled hands. These were not simple goods. They were currency of power. In return came glass beads, fine ceramics, and silk from distant lands. And in return, the ocean answered. Glass beads, bright as captured stars. Fine ceramics shaped in distant kilns. Silk that shimmered like water under moonlight. The world was reaching inland, and inland was responding. Archaeologists would later uncover Chinese porcelain from the Ming Dynasty and Persian ceramics within the ruins. Centuries later, beneath layers of dust and silence, archaeologists would uncover fragments of porcelain from the Ming Dynasty and delicate Persian ceramics resting within the stones of Great Zimbabwe. Proof, not of myth, but of global reach. Let that settle in your mind. Before Europe awakened from its medieval sleep, this city was already trading across oceans. This was not accidental. This was intentional. This was not an isolated society. This was not a forgotten corner of the world. It was a hub, a crossroads, a center of gravity. Voices from distant shores echoed through its markets. This was global Africa, confident, capable, connected, an Africa that negotiated, not begged, an Africa that influenced, not followed. At the center of this network rose Great Zimbabwe. And at the center of it all rose Great Zimbabwe, stone by stone, wall by wall, a capital emerging from granite, not as an experiment, but as a declaration. Power was not seized overnight. Power here was not stolen in the dark. It was not rushed. It was cultivated, like crops in patient soil. It was built slowly, deliberately, generation by generation. A grandfather placed the first stones. A father refined the walls. A son expanded the vision. Generation by generation, they built more than structures. They built continuity. Leadership was not declared loudly. It emerged from wisdom, from accumulated cattle wealth, from spiritual authority rooted in ancestral reverence. The Mambo ruled not just with command, but with sacred legitimacy. Power here was balanced, earthly and divine. And with each passing year, the kingdom grew stronger. With every harvest, with every trade caravan, with every stone raised toward the sky, the kingdom grew stronger, not through conquest, but through cohesion. And in the heart of southern Africa, a civilization was rising, steady, confident, unstoppable.